All right, you are not going to believe this. Sony just held its big presentation at CinemaCon, which, if you don't know, is this super exclusive event for theater owners where studios show off top secret, never-before-seen footage. It's a peek behind the curtain we almost never get. And this year, they basically just laid out the entire future of Spider-Man. And what they showed us wasn't just one path forward, but two completely different, impossible futures running at the same time. We got our very first look at Beyond the Spider-Verse and a raw, emotional deep dive into where Tom Holland's Peter Parker is headed next.
So what came out of that closed-door screening is this incredible tale of two spiders. On one side, we've got Miles Morales, a hero who was all about his connections, who's fighting to bring his team together and literally rewrite his own destiny. And then on the other side, we've got Peter Parker, a hero who is now completely defined by his loneliness, just struggling in a world that doesn't even know he exists. Their stories are running in parallel, but man, their journeys could not be more different. So let's break down what they showed, starting with our first hero, in the animated world of the Spider-Verse.
So first up, the grand finale to what many people, myself included, think is the greatest comic book movie trilogy of all time, Beyond the Spider-Verse. This was the first footage anyone has seen, and it gives us our first real clues about how in the world Miles is going to get out of that insane cliffhanger at the end of Across the Spider-Verse.
And right off the bat, the first detail that was reported just blew my mind. Look at that first point. The entire movie is going to be in that massive 1.431 IMAX ratio. That means from beginning to end, it's designed to fill the entire screen. This isn't just a film. They're making an absolute event. Now, the footage itself picks up exactly where we left off. Miles is on Earth 42, tied to a punching bag by himself, his alternate self who became the Prowler. And he's staring down an alternate, very much alive Uncle Aaron and an alternate version of his dad, Jeff. And as he's desperately trying to explain the multiverse, that his own dad is in danger, he starts to glitch. It's this awful, painful reminder that he doesn't belong here, and his body is literally being ripped apart by this other reality.
But then, right in the middle of all this life or death drama, the scene does something so unexpected and just genius. The two Mileses, they start arguing. Not about saving the multiverse, not about escaping, but about how to pronounce their own last name. Our Miles says Morales, the way you'd expect. But Prowler Miles, he gets all fired up and insists on the proper Spanish pronunciation, Morales. Now this is so much more than a joke. It's this amazing piece of character writing. It shows us that Prowler Miles isn't just some evil villain. There's a spark of connection there, a shared identity, a pride in their name, and it hints that maybe, just maybe, he's not an enemy, but a potential ally. And this, of course, gets right to the heart of the whole trilogy's conflict, the dreaded canon event. So quick refresher, Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099 says these are fixed points in time that have to happen to every Spider-Person to keep their universe from collapsing. And the big one is that a police captain close to them has to die. It's the ultimate sacrifice that makes the hero. Miles' entire mission is to say no way and save his dad from that fate. But here's where it gets really interesting. The new footage doubles down on a key detail from the last film. Someone calls Miles' dad Captain Morales, and he corrects them. He says, "Call me Captain when I'm sworn in." So the key here is, he's not officially a captain yet. This could be the loophole. This could be the one thing Miles needs to save his father without actually breaking the canon, because technically, the event hasn't been locked in. And the footage makes it very, very clear he's not going to have to fight for that loophole by himself. We get one of those absolutely stunning Spider-Verse montages. We see Peter B. Parker with baby Mayday, we see Gwen Stacy, even Spider-Ham, and they are all gearing up for a huge fight. Then, Spider-Punk shows up to rally a still-captured Miles, and this is where it gets truly epic. The screen literally shatters into dozens of vertical panels, like living comic book frames, and in each panel, there's a different Spider-Person from every corner of the multiverse, looking out over their city. The message is just undeniable. They've chosen their side. The rebellion against Miguel O'Hara is on.
And it's Spider-Punk who gets the line that just sums up the whole sequence, and probably the whole movie. He looks right at Miles and asks, "You thought you were going to fight Miguel and his whole gang alone?" This is the big emotional payoff. Remember, at the end of the last movie, Miles was completely alone, hunted by thousands of spider people who should have been his allies. And now, his real friends have defied the rules, they've broken ranks, and they are coming for him. He isn't alone anymore.
So, when do we get to see this masterpiece? Well, you might want to sit down for this one,
The release date they showed at the very end of the footage was June 18th of 2027. Yep, you heard that right. We have a long, long wait ahead of us, which explains perfectly why Sony is keeping this footage under such tight lock and key. They are building the hype for what is shaping up to be an absolutely unforgettable finale. And just as Miles' story is about building a team and finding community, Sony's presentation then pivots hard to our other Spider-Man, whose journey is the exact opposite. Now we're talking about the live-action Peter Parker, a hero who hasn't just lost his team, he has lost every single person in his life. The new footage here paints a picture of just profound, heartbreaking loneliness.
Okay, before we even get to the footage, the new poster tells you everything you need to know. It's a direct callback, an homage to that iconic poster for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. In that classic poster, you saw the villain, Doc Ock, reflected in Spidey's eye, symbolizing the threat he had to fight. Well, in this new poster, the villain is gone, and instead, reflected in the lens, is MJ. This one image tells a powerful story. Peter's biggest conflict isn't some supervillain anymore, it's internal. It's the life he lost, the person he loves but can never have. His greatest battle is with his own sacrifice.
All right, so the footage itself. It starts with Peter watching MJ at the donut shop where she works. He then sees his former best friend, Ned Leeds, walk by and pop into a store to buy a keg of beer called Green Jackal. Now, you might think, who cares? But for comic book fans, this is a massive red flag. Why? Because there is no Green Jackal beer. Not in our world, not in the comics. But there is a very famous, very creepy Spider-Man villain called the Jackal, a genius geneticist who is obsessed with cloning. That is way too specific to be a coincidence. It's a huge Easter egg that has everyone's alarm bells going off about who the next big bad is going to be.
Peter follows Ned to a housewarming party, and this is where it just gets gut-wrenching. He's just standing there, this total stranger at a party being thrown by the guy who was once his brother. He sees a little Chewbacca figure on a shelf, and you can just see the memories flooding back. Then he wanders into Ned's bedroom and finds this full-on conspiracy wall with photos and strings all over it, dedicated to Ned's new obsession, finding out who Spider-Man is. Suddenly, MJ walks in. Peter panics and introduces himself as Maynard, which is just a devastatingly sad nod to his Aunt May. And the scene ends with Peter just watching, totally helpless and heartbroken, as MJ greets and kisses her new boyfriend. Let's just dig into Ned's obsession for a second, because it's so beautifully tragic. He tells this stranger, Maynard, that he's looking for Spider-Man because the hero saved his life in high school. He's talking about things Peter did. He's even built a Spidey tracker. So you see, Ned's personality, being the loyal guy in the chair, is still there. But the person he was loyal to, Peter Parker, is gone. So all of that intense focus has shifted to the anonymous hero Spider-Man, and his prime suspects, get this, Flash Thompson and their old teacher, Mr. Harrington. It's tragically funny, and it shows you how completely Peter has been erased from his own life.
And Ned's insane suspect list forces us to ask a huge question that this footage seems to finally give us an answer to. When Doctor Strange cast that spell at the end of No Way Home, what did it really do? Did it just make everyone forget Peter Parker, or did it do something way deeper, something that actually rewrote reality itself?
This is what we're calling the memory alteration theory, and it's a total game changer. Think about it. Ned remembers being saved by Spider-Man at the Washington Monument, but Peter was right there with him, with his mask off. So if Peter is erased from that memory, Ned's brain has to fill in the blanks to make it make sense. Who else was there? Flash and Mr. Harrington. So his brain just autofills the plot hole. It concludes one of them must be Spider-Man. So the spell didn't just delete Peter Parker, it seems it actively rewrote people's memories to make them logical without him. It's a subtle change, but it's a reality-bending one that explains so much. But even with this total memory wipe, it seems like something's still there, deep down. At the party, Ned's talking about MJ and how she turned down some big corporate job. And then he says this incredibly sad, beautiful line. She feels like she's waiting for something. It's just this tragic hint that even though her mind doesn't remember Peter, some piece of her soul still feels that empty space he left behind, that maybe their connection isn't completely gone.
The footage they showed ended with a quick montage of action shots. We see Spider-Man swinging in to face a squad of damage control agents. He lands, cracks his neck, and says with this grim acceptance, "So this is how it's going to be." The message here is just crystal clear. He has fully accepted this life of solitude. He's not Peter Parker trying to balance two lives anymore. For the world, and now, Even for himself, there's only Spider-Man.
So after all of that, let's pull back and look at the big picture here. What does all this secret CinemaCon footage tell us about the future of the Spider-Man mantle, which is now shared by these two very different but equally incredible heroes?
I mean, when you lay it all out like this, you see this powerful, deliberate contrast that Sony is building. On one side, you've got Miles Morales, whose entire story is about the power of community. He is fighting with his friends and family to defy fate and save the people he loves. And on the other side, you have Peter Parker, whose story is now about the crushing weight of isolation. He fights alone to protect the very people who have no idea he even exists.
And this really gets to the heart of the emotional stakes. For Miles, the stakes are sky high. He is fighting tooth and nail to prevent a terrible loss, the death of his dad. But for Peter, the stakes are different, maybe even deeper, because he's already lost. He's lost his aunt, his friends, his name, his entire life. His fight isn't about stopping a tragedy anymore. It's about figuring out how to keep going after the tragedy has already taken everything from him.
And that leaves us with this one final, haunting question to think about. As both of these heroes carry the incredible weight of that mask, whose sacrifice is truly greater? The hero who's fighting to save his world, or the hero who has to live in a world that he already saved, but at the cost of himself?